What's going on, guys? Abrasus here. You didn't expect me to come back, did you? But I am. This time, maybe for a bit longer. I will bulk record now some videos, and I will try to put them as regularly as possible, which means probably once a week. On Thursday we will have a video on BitChute. On Mondays we will have the same video on YouTube. On the Monday of the next week, obviously. And well, this year is a bit sad, isn't it? No ETC and all that, no WTC. It sucks. So let's go down the memory lane and let's try to remember some things about the previous ETCs. I was very surprised to be able to retrieve all this data. Those are the winning armies from each year of the all 14 ETCs we have so far. 14 is also a very nice number. I really like that, so it's in the sense somewhat special to me. So those are all the metas that we've seen, all the different armies, and I will give you just a tiny bit of insight just to recall some things. I personally started playing in the circuit, like pretty much my first year in Warhammer was 2015, so not that long ago compared to some people who are playing for 20 plus years. But still, I've talked to people who were on several tournaments. Unfortunately, because of my fantastic computer, I'm not able to ask them to come here in the end, but I hope I will have some knowledge for you. So first of all, let's take a look at the top 3 armies. Those are not very surprising. Pretty much everyone that I asked answered that vampires would be the top army of the ETC, and they were not wrong. Although until I got all the data from those ancient times of 2006, 7, 8, and 9, the Vermin Swarm were actually in the lead. As we can see, the Vermin Swarm actually managed to win quite a bit of the championships. But the vampires being so amazing, well, that's not a big surprise. First of all, I don't think that there were ever Polish ETC team without the vampires, so that's just something that's just telling. The vampires were always pretty strong in our meta, but they were never that strong in the German meta, I feel. And both times where the vampires didn't win were actually Germans that were not bringing them. They are really strong army in the sense that if you are playing good with vampires, unless it's an extremely negative matchup, which are extremely rare, you will not lose a game. If you lose, you will lose like 8-12, 9-11. You will not lose a game in a big sense. And that's something that helps the top teams, because those kind of armies are pretty much as important as having armies that can just walk through the opponent. Okay, the Vermin Swarm, also a very nice army, very versatile. The first years of the 9th Age, 2016, actually, I remember the Vermin Swarm lists pretty well, because they were just some crazy shooting lists with the just incredible amounts of shooting. I think the Vermin Swarms also won the singles at this year. I think it is the only year where I actually know the army that won singles, because usually I don't take interest in the singles tournament because it's just so random. But this year, this was my first ETC year, so that was really important for me. And I was not playing because the others told me that no, you are not supposed to play at the ESC before the ETC because you will get tired and you will not be able to play 5 days in a row, which is kind of true. So I was just watching, and I was watching Marcin play with my miniatures because he didn't want to bring his own, and he was our coach at this time. So that was also in some sense magical, and I remember him playing against the Vermin Swarm, and that was just painful. I think he lost like 9-11 or 8-12 with my Infernal Dwarves, but that was mainly because they didn't play the whole game. So the Vermins are also a nice army for the teams. This is actually the only period that I don't really know what was their problem, why they were not in the winning teams. Usually the thing is that they have an excellent shooting and they have just so many tricks that your opponent is not able to fight against them efficiently unless they play really a lot against them. You have to be, I think, pretty experienced to play against the Vermins, at least a bit more in the past than now, like 2017, where you had a lot of crazy tricks, and the years when the Stormfiends got released were also just all over the place. And then the Bell pushing in the previous editions, yeah, just just something amazing. But as we can see in this year, the 2006, we will be able to see this soon, so maybe I will not get ahead of myself. Let's first take a look at the top 3 worst armies. Okay, and this is also not very surprising maybe to you when now you see it. You can think to yourself, yeah, it's logical. But when I asked the players that should have a great memory about this to name the top 3 worst armies, they got 1 out of 3, 0 out of 3, or 2 out of 3, so not very good. Many people thought about Undying Dynasties as one of the worst armies. And I think many people also pointed out to Infernal Dwarves because of their lack of popularity. This is probably the least popular army, at least it was in the Warhammer times, in the Ninth Age times. I think it became more and more popular because it just got the same treatment as all the other books. So what is interesting to see here is the beast herds, like so many years of no beast herds in the winning team, but the last 3 years were just amazing. Thank you, Frederick. Great job. Thank you. Yeah, they are just a very strong pushy army, and as we can see, they kind of replaced the warriors in this sense. In 2017 we had both warriors and beast herds, but in the end the problem is that the warriors became an army that has no clear message to send, but the beast herds clearly have one message to send, and this is just to kill the opponents. Ogre Khans, they got boosted by the 9th Age significantly, as we can see, like 3 times out of 4 they won in the 9th Age era. And actually I don't even understand why this is the case, because I feel like they are a strong army, but I always enjoy playing against ogres. I have armies that I hate playing against, that I totally despise playing against, like Highborn Elves or Kingdom of Aquitaine. But Ogre Khans, I always love to play against them. But apparently okay, so what is great about them now, and what probably wasn't so great back then, is single models. The single models, the hunters, the ogres didn't have the proper book for a very long time. And therefore, yeah, you can see only one win before the 9th Age, and it was in 2012. Marish actually took them, and I think he scored over 100 points with them. That was amazing. But yeah, the book was not that great. And now it is just a proper book with the proper tools and with a lot of different possibilities. You can play the Wild Heart, you can play just a regular army, or you can play a very shooty army. So they definitely got a better deal out of the 9th Age than many armies. The Orcs and Goblins, I feel, that are in this position mainly because they used to be very random. The whole animosity shtick and the old books shtick, and yeah, just okay, they used to be a pretty great defensive army, like the layers of trolls and then the machines and all that, but the sole fact that they could totally screw up with some bad rolls for the animosity, made them really hard to play at the very top competitive level, and made them really volatile. So we see 2 wins in 2013, 2014. I think 2013 this is Thomas winning with them. Congrats, Thomas. And we see one win in 2018 with them. I think they are not in a bad spot now, so probably the next year it's quite possible that they will occur somewhere here, but not necessarily so. Okay, so top 3, bottom 3, and I just realized that I didn't talk about the demons, so let's go back to the demons for a second. The demons, okay, it's pretty clear that they were always pretty much a strong army. In the times of the Games Workshop, we can see that the demons and the warriors of dark gods were always pretty much the love child, the very much the love child, because they were like the standard bearers of the fluff of the climate. And even though they had some wonky rules, like the Winds of Magic, they were more often than not nice to the demon player than the reverse. I remember with those rules of double 1 letting you resurrect all the models that died in the combat. So basically you had no loss from the combat even if you just rolled a double 1. It was obviously much better for the demon player because on double 6 your unit got wiped out. But the thing is that if you lose the combat, you either lose by the large margin, and it just gives you a chance to completely boost yourself out of the terrible situation. And the double 6 is okay if you lose badly the combat, then the double 6 doesn't matter that much. So I feel like it was very much in favor of the demon player. And we actually had a situation on one of the Polish Masters tournaments where Kalafior was playing demons against Młody, and basically Młody needed to win the Polish league in that year. And okay, this might be obviously a gossip, but I don't think so. And I think Kalafior rolled. There was a fight between Młody was playing warriors and Kalafior was playing demons. And there was like the Demon Prince or something and something else fighting against the Plague Bearers with 2 heroes, with the General and the BSB. And I think first time Młody killed the BSB and a bunch of Plague Bearers, and Kalafior rolled a double 1 and they got back. The second one he killed the General and the bunch of Plague Bearers, and Kalafior rolled double 1 and everyone came back again. So in the end Młody didn't win this Masters tournament, and Kalafior won the league instead, which is probably the most ridiculous way to win the season's league, but it just can happen. Even now the demons after all the transformations, because the demons and the warriors were the first books to be remade because of the flagships of the Warhammer. So the project wanted to go as far as possible out from its roots. So we are at this point where the demons and the warriors are already redone, and we had some weird we had some skip years here, 2016, 2017. I don't think that the demons were necessarily bad at this point, but the problem was that this was just the start of the 9th age, kind of, and many armies were just very, very strong, pretty much borderline OP. Like Infernal Dwarfs in 2016 were crazy. This was definitely the year for the Infernal Dwarfs. And this was something that allowed me to get to the Polish team, because I was playing Infernal Dwarfs back then. And I got to the team, and my first ETC I got good pairings mostly, and got 90 points. So that was really great. Next year the Infernal Dwarfs were not so great, but I did even better with them, which was very nice. But in the end, the demons here lacked, I think, the power. It was purely a power problem, not some kind of mechanical problem. Okay, so let's move to some more random statistics. So the warriors have only 1 year in the last 7 ETCs that it won the ETC, and in the previous 7 years, so the first 7 years of the ETC, there was only 1 year where they haven't won. Okay, so first of all, even in the before times, so in the old times, the Warriors had this option of this gateway. Maybe not in the very old times, but somewhere around here, there was the gateway available for the Warriors and the Demons as well, I think. But I always remember reading the reports about this, about the gateway getting a crazy amount of hits or crazy amount of strength or something like this. And nowadays you don't have that powerful spells. The spells are much worse, and the Warriors became pretty bland. I guess somewhere around like 2015, 2016. Then 2017 was actually again the top year for the Warriors, but interestingly enough, no magic. As far as I remember, Janusz was playing on the list with 0 magic there, but he had 3 lords with Vanguard. I think there was a Vanguard, and there were the Slanesh steeds that allowed the reroll charge. Who thought this is a good idea? I don't know. But we ended up with this, and this was swiftly nerfed after the ATC. And the last 2 years, the Warriors are a bit of the shadow of themselves. I don't know. I also feel like playing Warriors is not that bad time now. With the Helmo, it was a bit different. It was interesting at least. But now, when more and more people play with no Helmo, then the games become easier and easier, I feel. Then the amazing streak of the Vermin Swarms. Yeah, the amount of tricks, the amount of things that you can do with this army, the amount of shooting that you could have was just preposterous. And the scenarios didn't in fact change the image of the army that much, because even though you don't want to, you are not a close combat army with the Vermin Swarm most of the time, but your shooting is usually low ranged. In the 9th Age especially, we've seen like 2017 with the Grenadiers. Now we even have now we have mostly weapon teams, but we still don't use GZLs that much. We have the Doom Wheel. We had the Doom Wheel. Now the Doom Wheel is shaky, but still pretty great, but close range shooting. So you still want to push forward, and your units are huge. Those are not like 10-man units. You don't have much scoring units, but you have like the scoring units of 40 or something. You have Pendulum that is excellent for the scoring. Before Pendulum I don't think was ever played. The Bell was really much played in the previous years, but Pendulum no. But you didn't need Pendulum because you didn't play for the scenarios. Now you play for the scenarios, so Pendulum is useful. But in general, the introduction of the scenarios didn't hurt them at all. And the changes that the 9th Age introduced, even though they tried to limit the amount of tricks with the Vermin Swarm, they are probably still the army with the highest amount of weird things that you can do during the movement. Maybe the vampires are actually the second one. Yeah, with the raising and all, above the limit and all that. In fact, one of my favorite tricks comes from the Vermin Swarm in the 2017 when I played the Vermin Swarm in the absence of Pita at the warm-up. And yeah, but basically there was this thing that if you misfire with the weapon team, then you turn into the random direction and you shoot straight forward. But you couldn't break in the one inch rule. So as you might expect, what it led to is basically you put the rattling and then you put the unit exactly 1 inch from the rattling. So if the rattling rolls this kind of misfire, and this was one of the 3 misfires, so 1/3 of the chance so there was like 1/3 that it will get destroyed, 1/3 that it will like shoot normally but with penalty or something like this, and 1/3 of this randomness happening. But if you put the unit just 1 inch from the rattling, then guess what? The only way that the rattling will not shoot in the direction that you wanted is if he turned exactly 180 degrees, and it will shoot backwards. Because in any other direction that it rolled, it would stop because it would come within 1 inch of your unit. And what is the chance to roll exactly 180 degrees? 0, because we are on a real line. So in fact, on this misfire, the rattling was always shooting at your target. It was just what? That was really funny to me. And I remember when I was playing even a mirror match, and I was explaining this to the guy, and I think we needed the judge to confirm that I played 2 mirror matches at this tournament, and I used this 2 times, and both of my opponents were surprised, as far as I remember. And I was not a Vermin Swarm player, but those are just the random tricks that you could get out of this army. Okay, now Undying Dynasties are also interesting in a sense, because look, 2006 to 2009, those are 4 out of 6 wins of the Undying Dynasties. I really no wonder that people were suspecting that the Undying Dynasties would be one of the lowest, one of the armies with the lowest amount of wins, because all of those happened very, very far in the past. And as I've heard, that is because of okay, so first of all, the magic was a bit different back then. I think it was like each of your mages generated a certain amount of magic of power dice and dispel dice, and hence the more the mages you had, the more dice you had in your magic phase. Also, the magical movement spells or the push spells allowed you to get into close combat. And now, and also there were the things that the conga lines blocked your opponent from hitting. Like if you put a hero in the beginning of the conga line, then your opponent could only hit your hero. So combining all of that, and also the fear outnumber things and all that bullshit, yeah, you could do some very nasty combos with the Undying Dynasties. And similarly with the vampires, so the vampires are also all here, but the vampires are a bit more consistent than that. It's like vampires nerfed every time, but the nerfs just don't do anything. And then after the new army books started arriving for the other books, and the Undying Dynasties got stuck in place, yeah, we have this period of 6 years where Undying Dynasties haven't won anything. And that's just kind of sad. But now we had a year where the Undying Dynasties were the craziest army out there. Fortunately, they apparently got finally nerfed to the point where you no longer are required to have Undying Dynasties on the team. But still, the Solon Ancients. This is actually the only army that didn't win ETC in 9th Age at all. And this is a bit surprising in my opinion, because they are actually not that bad army. Like they are well rounded, and then we had the years where we had the possibilities of the combinations like 3 Stegadons plus 3 Cowboys. This was also 2017. 2017 was a crazy year for the combos. Yeah. And even now we have okay, so for 2018 2019 I'm not really surprised. Those were the bad times for the Solon Ancients, but 2021 Solon Ancients coming back, not being the only one without a trophy at all. I don't know, you would need good you need good players for that, I feel, and maybe there will be. Kingdom of Aquitaine. Okay, so this is some more common knowledge. Like, there are years where the Kingdom of Aquitaine were used as a surprise factor, because this was a pretty rare army with the army book that was not released for the longest time ever. You could use the Kingdom of Aquitaine as a kind of surprise army. Even around here, you have to remember that I think until 2008. You were playing with the closed army lists, so you did not see what your opponent heroes had, for example, what items. Yeah, nice touches like this. And the Kingdom of Aquitaine had quite a bit of amount of surprises that it could pull. But yeah, at some point with no new army book, and you know how the Games Workshop works. Like, each new edition, each new book has to be stronger than the previous one, because you need to force people to buy new things, to buy different things that they used before, right? So since the power creep was going on, and even here, 2016, 2017, this was just the start of the Knife Age again. So there was not that much. Okay, there was not that much novelty in the army. So those were pretty bad years. 2017 was actually an outrageous year for the Kingdom of Aquitaine, in my opinion. That was one of the things that could totally ruin our game. Was the peasants. Goddamn peasants. Like 250 peasants, including like 90 archers. Sounds familiar to you? If it does, then you remember those times. You don't want to play this again, and hopefully these atrocities will not come back to the game anymore. So this is basically all the random trivia that you can get. Other than that, the distribution is, I'd say, pretty nice. The Sylvan Elves here have a bit of a gap, but I think that's more the lack of players than the problems with the army. Although don't quote me on that. Obviously, all the Sylvan Elves player will now call me out and will tell me that yes, Sylvan Elves were extremely bad in this period, and that's possible. That's possible. But we have the top 9 actually of the armies. So your perfect ETC dream squad, but you need to get rid of one of those armies. What is not surprising is that the Dwarves and Empire have a decent amount of usage. Dwarves a bit lacking in the recent years, but in general both of those armies, okay, so Dwarves are a bit lacking probably because of the scenarios, but in general very decent defensive picks, where it's very hard to lose big with them. It's decently hard to win big with them, but you just need some people to block the others. Highborn Elves, as usual, strong army with a lot of things going on for them. Dread Elves are kind of surprising to me. I think they used to be a very nice army. Then they had a period in 2018 where they were amazing, but basically only because of one kind of build. And then it got severely nerfed. The Dread Elves came winning at the 2019, which is a huge surprise. I have to say. I think 2016 and 2017 Dread Elves were both the worst scoring army at the ETC, like the lowest average for the player. Although it doesn't say much because it doesn't account for the power level of the player. But in the end, I would not expect the Dread Elves to be in my perfect team setup. I have to be honest. Beasthearts, on the other hand, yeah, in the recent years especially, if you don't put the all time, but you just start waiting them, yeah. The Beasthearts definitely. We can also look at the top 8 from recent years, which I forgot to do. Sylvan Elves, again, a bit surprising army for me. I would not say that I want them in my team, because I don't feel the power in the recent years. Maybe before they were good, but the scenarios were really a big hit for them, because they kind of denied the guerrilla tactics. The vampires and vermins, I again cannot imagine a Polish team without vampires. If we wouldn't have a vampire player at all, which is highly unlikely because we always have several decent vampire players playing, I would probably pick vampires myself, because they are just such a good army and such a thrill to play. This is one of the armies that you just cannot be bored with. And if you want to start a new army, then vampires are probably the way to go for me. And then the vermins are also very good, but for vermins I think you need a very good player. This is one of the hardest armies in my opinion. But again, a very solid pick. And then the warriors, I don't know, again, in the recent years, we can see that Beasthearts basically overtook the role of the warriors. Now, I guess we will see how it develops, but I'm not really convinced about this army. So in the end, all those, okay, so these 3 armies, the Dread Elves, Sylvan Elves, and warriors are kind of shaky for me. The dwarves I don't really like, but I can appreciate them being stubborn and strong. In the recent years, we can see, okay, first of all, the vermins winning just everything. Maybe we can color them with a bit different color. Yeah, which is not surprising. The vampires holding very strong. The ogres holding very strong. Also a very nice army. The infernal dwarves, yes. So as I said, 2016 crazy year for infernal dwarves. Definitely the best army around. 2017 top 5 worst armies at the ETC, I feel, because they were so over nerfed, but they fit my playstyle really nice in the 2017. So for me, the 2017 Infernal Dwarves are probably like the top tier army that you can have. This was also the best year for my career achievements, in the sense, because we won the ETC, we won the Polish Team Championship, and I won my first single master, first and last, because I didn't visit any single masters after that as a player. And then 2018, yeah, they were still pretty strong. The 2019, okay, not that strong anymore. I didn't play them both in 2018 and in 2019. I didn't play Infernal Dwarves because I didn't like the direction the army went, and I didn't like the power level as well. And now we have the new book, which can really go either way. I think it started really strong. I've seen that the changes that are being made will again move it in the direction that I really don't enjoy. So I will probably not pick them up. But yeah, maybe something to consider as well. Although I honestly wouldn't. The Beast Herds, there are not that... Okay, you can have many builds, but there is basically one very successful build. And it's no wonder that it's successful. It's just very strong, in your face. If it gets paired well, it scores a crazy amount of points. 2017, 2018, 2019, pretty much all the same builds, pretty much all the same, which is a bit sad. I remember in 2017, Calafior actually, I think, scored the highest amount of points for us at the Polish Team Championship using exactly the same build. Although in 2017, at least, it was a bit more finesse, I'd say, because you could put chariots in the units. So the conga lines with the chariots in the units, just crazy times those were. Okay, and then we have a lot of number 2s, which means, okay, I cannot say that we all want to say that the 9th age is more balanced than before, that before the strength of the book mattered a lot more. Yeah, it's probably right. We cannot say it about with this amount of data, but that's probably a good intuition. I think that in general the books nowadays are much more equal. So we can see that many different armies won the ETC 2 times already in the 9th age era. So that's cool. We can see that if I wanted to take just the top spots, I would need 11 instead of 9, which is nice. And again, Empire, High Elves, no surprises here. Kingdom of Aquitaine, solid army now, no surprises here. Demon Legions, no surprises. Sylvan Elves, okay. And the Dark Dynasties, again, no surprises. A bit surprised that the Orcs and Goblins haven't won more. I think they deserve more. Not surprised by Dread Elves. Not surprised by Dwarves. A bit surprised by the Sauron Ancients. Especially if this was a 1 and not 0, then that would be less surprising. But since this is a 0, then yeah. And then the Warriors, not very surprising again. Okay, so I think this is the end of my flashbacks, at least. Much more knowledge for me from the last 4 years, not so much from the previous eras. If you want, you can obviously try to go back to this nice table and try to understand yourself what was going on, try to recollect. That's a very, very nice data set to work on. That's a very nice memory lane, I think, for many of you. I hope you enjoyed it. And see you in the next one. Cheers.